Today's date is August 21, 2017. Yalak here again. My lesson is the sloth and the turtle. And I'm chipping away again at the whole Adam and Eve and creation story, whole Garden of Eden story in the Bible. And just so no one misunderstands, I'm not doing this to try to disprove the Bible or anything like that. The reason is that if I want to understand some more of what is written, then I'm going to be inquiring a lot. I'm asking a lot of questions because I'm searching. If this is a book I read every day, then I wouldn't be working against it, or I just wouldn't be reading it every day. But the book is actually unique to me. It's interesting, right? And I'm just asking all kinds of questions, digging into it and so on, because there's just stuff that's just so mysterious about this book. I thought today that when it comes to the name of God, as I've mentioned in a previous recording, that I'm going to talk about the name of God eventually. But it came to me today that all these names we've been given, we're told by Jewish people that God has 72 names, and when I look at all the names for God that I've found over the years, it seems to me that He's got way more than just 72 names, because those 72 names, they link to other names. So He could have probably hundreds of names, if not thousands. But some of those names have variants as well, so people call Him all kinds of things. And so if you're saying in the Bible you've got these 72 names, then why? Don't that sound like a pantheon to you? Like Baal is a pantheon, many other gods underneath that name Baal. So that whole 72 names of God bit just kind of sounds strange. And so it seems really odd to me that the people who say they are Jewish people and who have the truth of the scriptures and Torah and truth about the name of God and the identity of God and so on would be giving you all these many names for God that to me is reflective or resembles pantheon type system that is used of pagan gods on the earth from nations that from ancient times chose not to follow the Creator. So one wonders, because as I was saying, I thought today, who named God when they give you these 72 names or the other names that do not fall in the list of the 72 names? Because as I read the story of Genesis, I realize that Adam was not made to speak for himself about who God was. If they tell us Moses wrote the Torah, then Adam didn't write it. So we don't have anything coming directly from Adam showing that he was speaking for himself, but rather someone else was speaking for him and telling you what little there was that was written about Adam in the Torah. So Adam never spoke for himself. He never even told you who God was. He never even told you if there was a God. He's just made to act for a very, very short time in Torah, in Genesis, by responding to this God. But he never calls this God a name. He never does. He never calls, from what I recall, he never calls this God a title. So he never called him God. He never called him Elohim. He never called him El. He never called. But I find that these terms are just in the scriptures. So Adam doesn't address this authority figure, the creator. He doesn't even call him creator. It seems that it was not even necessary for him to address the creator. He doesn't say sir or mister, doesn't appear to bow before him, like nod his head down to, extremely little amount of information is given about the very first man that started this whole thing. But you've got very sinful men who are given much more time in the scriptures. Anyway, as I look at the sloth and the turtle, I was wondering today, now as you may see on the screen, the sloth, that maybe the sloth is not commonly known. We hear more of turtles, but most people don't know of a sloth and what it looks like. And I understand that a sloth is very slow. Maybe it's slower than a turtle. Some say, well, it's probably more slower than the turtle on land, and the turtle is faster in water, but then it's slower than the turtle when it's in the water. However, so you figure it out for yourself. But at least it's very slow. Some people say it's slower than the turtle in general. But the point is that it is either slower than or as slow as a turtle, somewhere around there. Yet we don't really know of such a slow creature. And if you watch this sloth, just go on YouTube and look up sloth. If you look at this thing move, first of all, you wonder what was in the mind of the creator when he made this beast. Now he looks kind of funny, but he looks kind of nice too, right? The sloth. And you're just wondering, what purpose could there be in the making of all these things? And see, that's why I don't understand. All these mysteries are there, and Adam leaves us with absolutely nothing that to me makes his time worthwhile on earth. Just as a lay person, I mean, anybody else could have, like when you look at Elijah or King David in the scriptures, you don't really get to see, although it's probably possible, you don't really normally just think that somebody else could have filled their spot. Like, you're surely not going to say Ahithophel should have been Elijah or should have been David. But Adam doesn't really seem to leave you with much as the first man to make contact with the Creator, the first man to have lived, and the first man to have seen the Garden of Eden and been in it and so on. And the man for whom it seems woman came about. And he doesn't leave you with much, like in terms of understanding certain mysteries. You got Jonah, you got Job, you got David, the psalmist, and whoever else wrote the rest of the psalms and so on. Some of these people, Solomon, wondering about mysteries and so on, and trying to get stuff from the Creator, to say, why was this thing made? What about the stars and so on and so forth? These creatures, where they're from, how magnificent the Creator is in making all these different things. Adam just seems to just be living in there until he sinned. He don't really care why the Creator made this, that, or the other. How great is the Creator to have come up with the thought for all these different creatures and so on and everything. He just lived and sinned and died. So it's like you're kind of robbed somewhat when you deal with Adam. But now, if we look at this sloth, we normally think of the turtle as being very, very, very slow moving. Yet, there was a sloth all along, and hardly anybody paid it any attention. And that just goes to show that something can be out there around you, even right beside you sometimes, and you don't even have a clue. Like Israelites now finding out that descendants of slaves are the children of Israel sent into captivity according to prophecies in the scriptures like Deuteronomy chapter 28, Leviticus 26. And we're reading the Bible all along, read all these things and never knew it was about us. So a truth can be there and you don't even realize it. So here's a very, very slow creature that people are trying to measure its speed with that of the turtle, but most people don't even know it exists. The sloth. Now look at Hosea 4 and verse 6. It says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me." And the rest goes on. But destroyed for lack of knowledge. So again, it shows that there is a knowledge, but you don't live by it because you lack that knowledge. It exists, it's in the world, but you've lost your identity, so on and so forth, and you can't tap into this knowledge, but it's there. And so it is with the sloth. The sloth is there, is slow like the turtle, or possibly slower, but everybody talks about turtle every now and then. You got cartoons with turtles, whatever, and you hardly see a sloth or hear the word sloth. You hear the word slothful, but you don't really think of this sloth, meaning the beast, the sloth, the animal. Now, if we look here at Leviticus 12 and verse 8, look how funny this is. "And if she be not able to bring a lamb, then she shall bring 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons, the one for the burnt offering and the one for a sin offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for her, and she shall be clean." I see turtles there, and you wonder. I mean, it just seems kind of funny. It's probably just talking about a turtle dove, so still a bird, but it's just kind of funny how they chose to put turtle right there, and so that might just catch the eye a little bit. But I wondered with that, like in the case of the Lamb of Calvary, since people could offer turtles, or turtle doves for sin, I should say, why wasn't this whole Jesus sacrifice, instead of him being called the Lamb of Calvary, why wasn't he called a turtle of Calvary or a turtle dove of Calvary? What's so special about a lamb? Because obviously turtle, as they say here, or turtle dove, could be used for often for sin. But now look at it. If man is really millions of years old, why are we still studying, searching, and finding out about plants and animals close to our living spaces? Because they're studying this sloth, and it seems this sloth moves so slow. And like I said, most people don't even know about the sloth. So we find in our modern times here, these people are studying the sloth. Why are they just studying the sloth in the modern world? If Adam knew about the sloth already because he named all the creatures of the earth, why are we just studying the sloth? Look at what this says here. Genesis chapter 2 and verse 9 and 10. And out of the ground made the Creator, Elohim it says, to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And the river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became 4 heads. So, since he had separated the waters, now he got waters in the firmament and waters in the seas and the great depths of the seas, then it's like you got 2 sources of water, water up above in the firmament and water on the earth and the sea that was gathered together in one place, that the scripture says, so that the dry land would appear. So the water is now heaped or collected into one place. And if it's said like that, then if a river is coming out of Eden, then that river is coming out of the source of water, or the source of the river, which would mean the sea. Because rivers don't run from the firmament or don't run from the sky down to earth. So it has to be the water that's already on the earth in what we would call the seas, when it says that the water was gathered into one place. So a river went out of Eden. So if the river is coming out of Eden, then the source is coming from the sea, or the source is coming from where the waters were gathered together. So is there a sea in Eden? And is Eden the whole earth, or just a part of the earth? A certain landmass that's only a part of the earth? Or is Eden the whole earth? Because he planted the garden eastward in Eden. But sometimes we just casually think that the garden itself was Eden, but it says the garden that was eastward inside of Eden. And the river came out of Eden to water this garden. So first of all, I would think of this garden of Eden as being a supermarket. Because when I look at it, this place of Eden is a place of pleasure, luxury, delight, and activity. So there is a lot of activity. That activity to me would be showing that life. Because when I look at the Hebrew words, I don't want to get into it now because I was doing it, it took up a few extra minutes before. It's telling you that there is a lot of activity going on. Since no other man is clearly and plainly shown, unless you do gymnastics, then I'm assuming that one man was there at this point. So the activity and life then would have to be associated with the movement of waters or river, and the growth of trees and the producing of fruit and so on, right? And the animals that were there and so on. So this is the activity that we're dealing with that's in Eden and also eastward in Eden. And so further activity is happening by this river that's flowing and coming out of Eden. So if this river is coming out of Eden, then at the start, the river has to come out of the source of water that gives life to a river. So the river is coming out of the place where the waters were gathered together so that the dry land could appear. So the water is gathered together, and where it was gathered, they call it seas. So there was a sea, and the river came out of the sea to water the garden. But according to verse 10, then I would have to continue further in my own thoughts here and say that there was a sea that gave life to a river, and that river went out of Eden to water the garden that was in the east part of Eden. So if the river went out of Eden, then the river was inside of Eden in order to go out of it. And if the river is getting its water from the sea, then it is likely that the sea is inside of Eden and it starts a river, and then the river flows out of Eden and waters the garden. So that this river is running all over the place, seems to me to be going in and out of Eden to water the garden. So it looks like Eden is a larger landmass that is able to have a sea in it and even have rivers in it, so that a river can flow out of Eden to water the garden. But when it goes out of Eden, because the garden is inside of Eden in the east part of Eden, then the river goes out of Eden and comes back inside of Eden to go and water the garden that's located on the east part of Eden. So this river looks like it's running out of Eden and coming back in to find the garden, to water it, to water the place of activity and so on, of the fruit trees and so on. So when he placed man in this garden of Eden, this garden of delight and luxury and so on, to water the garden, that means to give life to the stuff that's in the garden. The man's going to get life from it, from the food and so on. So it's trying to, the water is going there through the river that came from the sea of Eden to water the plants and so on, and the fruit trees and so on, so the man could eat. So basically, the river is coming now to water a supermarket in Eden, or to water the Garden of Eden. So the Garden of Eden was a supermarket, so the man could get the fruit trees and so on to eat food. So his delight was the food. So when it says he placed man in the garden which he had made, and he made a garden and planted the eastward in Eden and placed the man who he had made, that then means that before he made the man, he made a supermarket to take care of the man's needs so the man could survive. And then he placed, and it was a delightful place with all the food that was going to make, taste buds and whatever. And, he's going to be happy. And he was told to devour the food that's there, because the word for eat means to devour. So he placed the man which he had made inside the supermarket that was eastward in Eden, and told him, devour. So when you're eating this stuff, this food that you see, all these fruits and so on, you should devour, you should wipe it out. You should eat like you just want to and lick your lips when you're done and you're carrying on and whatever, when you're eating some real nice food. And so he's wipe out this food like as if you don't care if any is left. You're just going to wipe it out, because there's going to be such abundance that you're not going to run out, just devour stuff. And I find then that when you think of Torah, that's the way you're supposed to eat or devour Torah. That the more you teach, the more you share, the more you give and so on, there's nothing that you're not going to be lacking it, because you're going to get more. So the more you give it, the more you share is the more you're going to get. The more you release is the more you're going to see. Right? Is the more you dig to share and to feed your own self, is the more you're going to find that you unearth in Torah to feed yourself and to feed whoever else might take a few minutes to listen to you. So he's telling you at the same time now that Torah is something that you are supposed to devour. You're supposed to eat it up. You're supposed to eat it. Like they say, you become what you eat, you are what you eat. But when you devour Torah, you eat it up, you're going to become the Word. You're going to become the Word. And I find that what the most I was doing with Israel was trying to get Israel to a place where they were reflective of that Word. Right? Because they digested that Word so much, or were supposed to, that they were just supposed to live it. But because they didn't do that and started devouring the teachings of the nations around, then they got poisoned, And eventually the woman is like, well, the serpent poisoned me, basically. And they were kicked out eventually. Genesis 2, running on to verse 18 and 19. And the Creator Elohim said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him an helpmeet for him. And notice something interesting here. Eden is a place of delight and pleasure and luxury. Your senses are pampered in all kinds of ways and so on. I mean, you're happy because he did not make a sad man. He did not make a man that, because normally whatever else he was making, he kept saying, it is good, it is good, it is good, when he looked at it at the end of making it. Now, when he made the man, you would expect as well that this was good. Because surely in verse 1, chapter 1, I think it says, he said, have dominion over everything. So he would not have made a man that was faulty and not happy and so on and so forth, or was lacking in certain ways. So the man wasn't lacking. Yet it says here that it was not good that the man should be alone. So he made a man that's all right, his masterpiece in creation and so on. And then he noted that the man was alone. Now, we normally think that something was wrong here. Like Adam was alone because he didn't have a woman. But maybe it wasn't that Adam was alone because he did not have a woman, as if the Creator didn't think things through properly to realize that the man didn't have a woman, so he's lonely because of that. It more seems to me that he's just simply noting that it is not good that the man be alone, because if he's in a place of pleasure and delight, Eden, this garden in Eden, then the man is filled with the pleasures of the blessings of the Creator in the garden. But it is not good that the man does not share all this goodness and blessing with anyone, that he does not have anyone to share this with and to express this to. So it's not that the man was sitting down depressed because he was alone, but probably more that such deepness and richness of blessing and such wonder of the Creator when you bite into these fruits and so on, and seeing all the mischief what the Creator has created, should not be kept to yourself, but should be spread. So in that sense, it is not good that the man does not have any way to spread it, because the animals will not listen to him teach Torah. The animals will not listen to him and understand when he's saying, this peach is nice, this mango is sweet, this orange is, sweet. So because there is no one on his level to understand and appreciate what he's expressing about the Creator, because he's going to want to talk about his quote-unquote God and what blessings this Creator has given to him, how he, created all this stuff. So he's just alone, because there's no one on his level. So in that sense, he does not have any way to express properly or fully in a vibrant kind of way the way he would like to, because there is simply no one else around to do so too. Because any expression to animals is just a one-sided expression. So in that sense, the man was alone. It's not that he was necessarily depressed, because then we have to deal with the issue. It's God just sitting down making depressed people. Making a depressed man, I should say. Because how could he have been depressed when he was placed in a place of delight? Wouldn't the delight of the garden simply nullify his depression and his sadness? So Adam was not sad. Because don't they say if you feel sad, just try to smile, look in the mirror and try to smile and think happy thoughts to change even the muscles in your face and so on, and it starts to pick you up and it. So if he's in a place of delight, all the delight of creation and the sweetness of the fruits and whatever else and the mysteries and whatever that's there that he's witnessing for the first time is going to automatically change and counteract any depression that he would have supposedly had. So the man was not depressed. So when he was alone, it's not because he was sad. He just simply didn't have anyone to express to the way humans would express to other humans. Now, verse 19. Out of the ground, Elohim formed every beast of the field, just like the, he formed every beast. When you look at even like this sloth, and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them, and whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And now look over in Genesis 1 verse 26. And Elohim said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth on the earth. Alright, so this was done. And then we find here now, he brought them, these beasts and so on, unto Adam to name them, to see what he would call them. Now, this is a lot of work for Adam, because for him to name all of these creatures, if he didn't travel all over the world to find them, but it says they were brought unto him. I wondered at one point if he was going all over the earth, but something seems a little bit odd, because if he has dominion over all the creatures of the earth, then he has dominion over all of the earth. How do you have dominion over all of the earth, everything on the earth, if you do not have some kind of way to express that dominion? So was Adam confined to Eden? Because if he is cast out of the garden, that does not mean he never left the garden to have his dominion over the earth. It just simply means he's being put out permanently. But whatsoever he called every living creature, that was the name thereof. Now, if you look in creation now, we're commonly told this earth or what was made on it is probably about 6,000 years old. Now, some are saying this is all millions and millions of years old. Yet modern man is just trying to study some of these things in the past few hundred years. Just trying to. If we look at the sloth, it seems the sloth was named possibly in the last 1,000 years, possibly, as the sloth. So it seemed to have had other names by different cultures, but in this modern Western New World kind of setup, it seems it probably got its new name in more recent times. So apparently somebody in the New World didn't like what older people called it, so they changed the name. But they're studying the sloth. This thing moves so slow. They say it takes about, like it lives up in the tree, basically, in trees. Moves very slow, and it only comes down from the tree once per week to have a bowel movement. And some of them die because once they come down there, that's when they're attacked by other animals and they're eaten, right? And the way it moves so slow, it just can't escape. When you see this thing moving so slow, it seems like it's a movie and someone's playing it in slow motion. When you see this thing move so slow, one wonders what was in the mind of the Creator to have made this beast. to make it move so slow? What is there in the wisdom of the Creator that says, I want this beast to move this very slow? Even knowing that its slowness is going to make it vulnerable to other animals. If we're studying these things just now, and the earth is millions of years old, why is it that if we are making records of what we find out about these creatures, like even this sloth, that millions of years ago, if people lived that long ago, that nobody in millions of years documented anything to show the details about the sloth and all these other animals that we are just studying now in this modern world. Just. You see, the extensive research and studying that's done with these different creatures that they're still finding all the time shows me at least two things. That the earth, or at least us on the earth, may not be as old as the millions of years that we're told. And because people didn't know some of these creatures, because we're just finding some of these things on the earth in recent times. Also, if we've been here millions of years, and Adam named all these creatures, and they were brought unto him, why are we finding things that nobody on earth has known ever, and we have to give them names because they were never known or found by anyone before? But Adam named all the creatures. That makes one think that Adam did not name all the creatures, but then you are resisting Torah. Or then I'm left to think that something happened that destroyed the world, so that we are relearning things. And that gets into more arguments. I don't remember the story fully, but it was on the news a few months ago on the radio. A woman, and I don't remember which country she's from, but a woman found some kind of insect, some insects in her backyard. I think it was 8,000 species of whatever it was she found, 8,000 different kinds in her backyard. Not out in a large forest or so, in her backyard. And they were not previously known on earth. 8,000. So you know what thoughts come to my mind now is that the people who lived in the house before didn't find these things, or what? Or they just assumed they were just other regular insects. And the people who built the house never noted them as well. What is special about this woman that she found them? I mean, this seems really incredible. And they're saying these things were scientifically whatever, but 8,000 in her backyard. That sounds way too incredible. But they said it was true. Now, if that's true, and they're giving them names, then it seems that Adam didn't name them because we are naming them in modern times. They're finding different animals and so on, and they're naming them and whatever. So something must have happened along the way that destroyed the world, so that these creatures are not known and we have to name them now. Which then makes you wonder, how long were we really here for? You see how tricky the whole thing gets? But I find it incredible that if we have really been here millions of years, that in only the past 2 or 3, 4 thousand years, that man has developed so much and is able to document stuff, and they keep searching and finding all these inscriptions and whatever, and now we're documenting stuff on computers and hard drives and so on. In only 3 or 4 thousand years we've done all this stuff, and a lot more documentation has happened in the past 2,000 years, especially when they made the printing press and all that. A lot more books, you know. So why is it that for millions of years man has been around, for those who say we've been here for millions of years, that man could not develop to the point of writing down and documenting all of these stuff? So it seems to me to more be that we've only been here a shorter time, possibly the 6,000 or so years that they say. That's what it looks like to me. Because the list people saying we've been here for millions of years, that makes me think that man was really dumb. And suddenly, he became instantly smart 6,000 years ago, so that most of what we're finding is really within 6,000 years of things that he made, developed, and so on. The sloth. It says here, I think this is from Wikipedia, is a slow-moving tropical, or, well, it may not have been Wikipedia, didn't write it down, but anyway, a slow-moving tropical American mammal that hangs upside down from the branches of trees using its long limbs and hooked claws. Slow-moving tropical American mammal. So then, does that mean when the animals were brought to Adam, that God brought them to Adam? Because there was no one else in the text. So the Creator brought them from America to Adam? Or he just made them and brought them to Adam and then sent them to America afterwards? See, sometimes you might think my questioning is silly and so on, but this is what one has to do in order to dig through these mysterious things in the Bible. Because if you are not digging and combing and searching some fine things, a lot of things are going to pass you. You get more knowledge when you dig stuff. Like I started out saying, Hosea 4:6, destroyed for lack of knowledge. So if you want to find out what the book is about, can you trust the book? Can you rely on the book? You're going to be taking the book apart as much as you can. Because I'm telling you, if you do not get intimate with all the little intricate details of the book, you're going to be in a bad spot. Because evil people out there are planning on taking down what we call the Bible. And they're going to ramp up their efforts as time goes on. Especially when these last days go on some more. They're coming at it in every way, archaeology and all, to try to prove to you that the Bible is not true. And if you don't know it well and deep enough, and you're not asking your own self these questions, and asking the Most High, and asking the different books that you read, how this is possible, and so on, and making yourself search to find the answers, how are you going to answer the evil people who are going to come and take down your faith? Because a lot of people are going to turn away from the Bible because they never took their time, when they had the time, to try to search out the things of the book. Make sure you're doing your searching.